Mr. Perry?
Here.
Mr. Rogan? Mr. Evans?
Here.
Mr. Gahn?
Here.
Mr. Wexler?
Here.
The purpose of said public hearing is to hear testimony and discuss the following. File of the Council Number 97, 2017, an ordinance closing and vacating a portion of an unnamed alleyway between South Main Avenue and Halsey Court in the 1200 block of South Main Avenue.
We do have a few representatives here concerning this project. Gentlemen, could you use the podium? That way we'll have a mic.
Hi, everybody. My name is Larry Moran, and I'm an attorney, and I represent the developer on this project. With me is Emmett Mancinelli, who's our engineer, who I'm going to hand over for the more particular questions if council has them. But generally, what we're looking to do is redevelop two blocks parallel to one another on one of the last blocks of Main Avenue in West Scranton. So we frame this as the gateway to West Scranton. If you're coming up from Old Forge area, when you enter into Scranton proper, on your left-hand side, you'll see what's now a kind of a deteriorated video store. Next door is a restaurant that's changed over a couple times. It's presently an Asian fusion restaurant. It used to be seafood, and they can't really keep it occupied. Then there's an empty church next door. We have acquired those parcels. We're developing it into professional medical mixed use, meaning our tenants that we have are established chiropractor, aquatic therapists, a pharmacist. Above the professional medical will be residential apartments. And then directly across the street, there's presently a Sunoco gas station that is part of our redevelopment as well. And then next door is the corporate offices for that gas station. We're going to do a phase 2 with the RACB award and develop that office, the office piece next door to the gas station, into a smaller scale mixed medical use and residential apartment building. And the request is that council vacate what is, I guess, technically regarded as an alleyway, but it's really just a parcel that separates my client's gas station and his corporate offices that really just serves as his driveway right now. It's inaccessible to the public. Nobody uses it except the owner of the both parcels on both sides. Obviously, it'll occasion economic development and growth and remove a liability from council. That's our pitch.
Thank you.
Just a question. With two phases of the project, is there a timeline for any start of demolition or construction for either project?
Yes, my name is Emmett Mancelli. I'm the engineer for the project. Right now, we're finishing up the drawings, and we're soon going to be into the bidding phase for the demolition. I would expect that we would probably start doing the demolition on the west side of the street, which would be the vacant church and the vacant video store on the corner. Probably in the next 6 to 8 weeks, I would guess, would be when we should have some activity out there.
And just if you could just touch a little bit on why the importance of vacating this property is to this phase 2 of the project?
For the phase 2 of the project, the importance that we have is we've gone to the Planning Commission and met with them concerning the property. And there's a little bit of conflicting information in the archives of whether this alley is already vacated or exists or doesn't. So based on direction from Don King and John Posh as the city engineer, they thought it would be more prudent to request council to vacate the alley so that should something in the future develop, we've already gone through that process. And we just want to, so our position is to treat it as, as that it does exist, go through the process so that we could be sure, both for the development's sake and the client, the city, that we've gone through the steps to do it properly versus not.
Once demolition begins and construction starts, do you anticipate any type of traffic pattern changes or delays in traffic on Main Street?
No, not really, because everything from on the west side of the street, Wolf Court runs in the back, so the sites that we're working on the west side are all accessible from the rear. There's parking areas back there now. So from the standpoint of the construction, we do not anticipate any changes to traffic patterns or the one thing that we did discuss in a project meeting was the sidewalk. We may have to request closing the sidewalk during certain phases of the construction. But other than that, I would be no disruption to traffic.
I got you. Thank you.
I know prior to the meeting, I spoke to you a little bit. You had maps of the project area. Do you have any renderings of the other? I mean, I'm familiar with with the project across the street. I'm not quite as familiar with this portion involving the gas station.
No, we do have renderings of the side across the street.
This is imposed upon the block as a
The phase two part that this court impacts is lagging behind in design and in planning. So basically, the idea was to get the west side going, and then as the design progresses and finishes up, it just transitions into the other side.
Okay.
So one of the reasons that we're a little bit behind is because of the vacation. We just wanted to get through that process first, whereas on the west side of the street, the lots were already under control, so we just joined them through Planning Commission, and it was a much quicker process to get those lots ready for construction.
Yeah, because I was approached by some of the neighbors in the area, and they're anxious to see what the new corner would look like, if there's any.
We could certainly keep the city informed as to what's going on when we get those. We're working on the plans on the west side right now, so I'd be happy to share with the city
as
the
soon as they're
rendering
available,
as soon
if
as
you
it's
could.
available.
Yes, as soon as they're available, because, I mean, this
I would think.
looks very, very nice to me.
I would think the rendering on the east side will probably be 3 to 4 weeks away.
Okay.
Do you have a ballpark completion date on when you think everything would be wrapped up and finished? Obviously, you can't have anything
We're
too
still,
solid.
yeah,
but-
we're still in the early stages of trying to determine when we're going to start, but I would say that we'd probably look at March, April, May of 2017 when it's all said and done.
Okay, thank you.
I think you meant 18 or 19?
18.
So-
Well, the 19 with the streetscape? 18.
Okay, very good. Anyone have anything else? Thank you, gentlemen. This hearing is adjourned. Thank you. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing for a moment of silent reflection for our servicemen and women throughout the world, and also for those who have passed away in our community. Thank you. Roll call, please.
Mr. Perry?
Here.
Mr. Rogan?
Here.
Mr. Evans?
Here.
Mr. Gahn?
Here.
Mr. Wexler?
Here. Dispense with reading of the minutes.
Third order, 3A, agenda for the City Planning Commission meeting held April 26, 2017.
Are there any comments? If not, received and filed.
3B, check received in the amount of $16,651.96. That represents reimbursement for the Fire Department Safer Grant 2012 balance.
Are there any comments? If not, received and filed.
3C, agenda for the Board of Zoning Appeals meeting to be held May 10, 2017.
Are there any comments? If not, received and filed. Do any council members have announcements at this time?
Yes.
Oh, go ahead, Bill.
Oh, thank you. Sorry. The Armed Services Day Parade to support our veterans, the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, the Marine Corps, and the Coast Guard will be held May 20th at 11 a.m. on Saturday in downtown Scranton. The parade will begin at Vine Street and Penn Avenue, continuing to the courthouse. Colts buses will be running free all day, and everybody is urged to get out and show the veterans in our community your thanks for their service to this country. Also, as an addition to that, local students can enter into an essay writing contest. The topic is the sacrifice of our veterans. It has to be 1,000 words, and they are to drop off the essay in the red, white, and blue box on the corner of Lackawanna Avenue and North Washington Avenue at the parade. They have to include their name, phone number, and age on the essay. First prize is $100, second prize is $75, and third and fourth prizes are $50. So I would urge any young people, any students in the community to take part in that essay. Thank you.
Yes, I have one announcement to make. This Saturday, April 29th, from 6 o'clock to 11 o'clock, the Manuka Lions is going to hold their 12th annual Autism Awareness Night. They've had 11 very successful years in a row raising money for autism. It's a great cause. It's near and dear to my heart. It has affected my family, like I'm sure a lot of yours. And the Lions Club, they do a really good job. The tickets at the door are $20. All the proceeds stay locally to help the autism awareness drive in our community. Thank you.
Fourth order, citizens' participation.
Joan Hodowanitz. It's a miracle.
Joan Hodowanitz, Scranton City resident and taxpayer. Okay, 64 days to June 30th, the deadline for our 2016 audit. I will remind you that this gem is the Lackawanna County Library System and member libraries audit for 2016. Member libraries in 7 different municipalities, including Scranton. It was completed on January 27th. 27 days it took to do. And that's without benefit of rainy and rainy. Okay, 194 days to November 7th general election. Do you know where your Arcadis study is on stormwater management? And we are rapidly approaching May 16th. I hope every citizen gets out to vote during their primary. With regard to the city's website, I've mentioned this several weeks now. On the controller's page, there is only one controller's report. That is for March 2017. December and February have somehow gone to the big cyber cemetery in the sky, completely gone. And the RFPs, they created a page for RFPs. The RFP for rental registration is 1 page long. It's the initial cover sheet. Now, if it weren't for Jim Lockwood and the Times Tribune, Jim very politely scanned in the entire RFP so that if you Google his article on the RFP for rental registration, you will get the entire document. But it needs to be added to the city's website. And there is no RFP for the third-party administrator as of yet. And I don't know how many years that'll take because it's been over 1 year since the mayor told us that he would, from this point onward, have a third-party administrator. Speaking of the third-party administrator for the pension plans, I am very curious to see how he is going to advertise for a nationally recognized administrator. How are we advertising other than the RFP that's on our website? How do we put that out? If you can find out from the administration how they're canvassing nationwide, I'd like to know. Have we had any update on the status of the Knowles insurance list? We passed the ordinance for the insurance or the resolution, and they were supposed to go back and scrub the list. The list included the Scranton Public Library, Nancy K. Holmes Library. Do we know when that list will be available for the public to see, the corrected list?
We requested it, but we have not received it yet.
Okay, I'm sure that'll be right behind the third-party administrator. I'm watching. Speaking of pensions, The third-party administrator is one piece of the puzzle, but I'm interested in what other pension reforms are being pursued. It would be my position that the city's in need of a system of internal controls so that we never have another double pension fiasco or anything like it. Are any pension reforms in the work other than the RFP?
Well, when we see the RFP, as far as what that's going to be, that may be part of the RFP, so we'll have to see about that. We also want to reduce the rate of return. We're going to make sure that's part of the ordinance that's going to be done as well.
I understand that.
And I want to see some improvements in the pension boards, but there's some state statutes that allow us not to do certain things.
Well, see, I still don't understand how the double pension fiasco really happened. And I would tell you that the whole system needs to be looked at closely, and internal controls need to be developed and implemented.
Regarding the double pension issue, there's a number of controls I think that need to be put in. Now, a couple of the things that I'm thinking about, I would like to see the state police report first, which is, we're still tied.
I would too.
We're still tied up in court.
Whether you get it or not.
What was that, Attorney Minori?
Argument on the subpoena is scheduled for June 28th.
Oh.
I just received that. We didn't have time to talk about it in
Okay.
caucus.
We're making progress.
That's some good news.
But whether or not you get the state police report, I still think that we need to develop better controls.
Absolutely.
And finally, have we got any update on the accounting for the sewer authority sale?
No.
Nope.
We have not received anything yet.
And the beat goes on. Thank you.
Faye Franis?
Faye Franis, Scranton. I hope everybody listens to everything I say now, because this is very important. The election is coming up, and it's very important as to who you people vote for. Now, I got this in the mail. Pat Rogan. No tax increase in Scranton. Not only that, he says he's done, small business owner, and he's done it in city council.
Ms. Franis, I don't want to stop you, but I did not send that out. If you look at the paid for line, that was not from me or my campaign.
You also had, are you trying to say you don't agree with no tax increase?
I'm just saying I did not send that out.
I know that, but
Okay.
it's
I just want you to know that.
But you agree with what's on here, don't you?
I had nothing to do with it being put together either.
Well, you should sort of have some say as to what's going on in your ad. I'm
It's-
sure you'd like to say that there's no tax increase this year. You'd take credit for it, right, Pat?
It's not my ad.
Okay. Well, let me go further.
Okay.
Just like Mr. Wexler, and you say there's no taxes, and Mr. Wexler says, you say it here in the paper, no taxes this year. But, Mr. Rogan, 2014, 2015, 2016, well, let's go back to 2013, December. 57% tax increase. Janet Evans, Jack Laskin voted no, and you voted no. But come January of 2014, when Billy Courtwright became the mayor instead of Mayor Doherty, you voted for the 57% tax increase, the highest ever in the city of Scranton. And between that and now, taxes have been raised 87%. Between then and now. And you have voted for every one of those tax increases. You have done this single-handedly. And you also are the only council person in the history of Scranton to raise taxes that much. So that's because Mayor Courtwright is the mayor, your buddy. And you also say in this newspaper article, I don't know if it's quoted wrong or not, that you're interested in the garbage fee. You're hoping to get a senior citizen discount. Same thing with Mr. Wexler. You're both saying you're interested in the garbage fee. But you've sat there for 2 years and have not done one thing that lowered the garbage fee. It's election year this year, so now all of a sudden you're big garbage fee advocates. You didn't do one. You could have gone down the Dave Bolzoni or go up wherever he is and talk to him about the garbage fee, what money comes in, what money goes out, but you never did it. It could have been in the budget for this year, but you didn't want it to be because you just didn't want to do it. So now all of a sudden you want for next year, you want to get a senior citizen discount. Mr. Evans says that's not plausible, I guess, because he didn't do anything about it either. Sounds good in paper. Sounds good when you're running for election. You could have done it a year and a half ago. So it could have been in this budget this year, where the garbage fee would be less than 300 and the senior citizen would get a discount. But no, now you're running for election. So it's a disgrace. And the fact that you, Mr. Rogan, sit up there and take credit for no taxes this year, and Mr. Wexler, no taxes. I hope the 3 men or 4 men, whoever's running for city council, be either you or Mr. Wexler, because either one of you have to go. Both of you, I wish, would go. Mr. Gahn has been wonderful. He's been for the people. He pointed out where Billy Courtwright has done nothing for the people and hides everything and doesn't get back to him on anything. He's not answerable to anybody. Plus, he doesn't know how to answer any questions. But Mr. Gahn always says it like it is. He may not get the vote he wants, but at least he brings it out to the public. So I'd say anybody would want to vote for Bill Gahn, absolutely. But as far as you, Mr. Rogan, the highest person on city council ever to raise taxes as much as you did. And Mr. Wexler, for you to say, oh, we're not raising taxes, there's no taxes this year, but it has nothing to do with the election. Yeah, then why do you state it? No taxes in the paper. You're taking credit for it because you want to get elected. But next year, wait and see, Mr. Rogan and Mr. Wexler, they're already, if they get elected again, they'll be raising taxes sky high. Let's see if you don't have taxes raised next year if you get in. Let's see if you're really sincere about not raising taxes. Next year is going to be astronomical because it's not an election year for you. So, and what about the stormwater thing? How come you're not demanding to know how much the stormwater is going to cost the people? But Bill Courtwright doesn't want that study to come out until after the election, and you sit there and don't say a word about it. You should be demanding that the people know what the stormwater fee is going to be for the people. You should be demanding the answers to that, but yet you're not. And then the money for all the lawyers, there's no accountability as to how they got that money. There's no invoices, and yet you're still not doing anything about letting the people know. I believe that's public record. Since April 10th, have you gone to that office, made an appointment to see what those invoices stated? Have you done it yet, either one of you? Mr. Wexler, Mr. Rogan?
The reason why we have the invoices is that we went to the meeting and got the information from the director.
Well, then how come when people ask you the questions about how were the invoices, what were they, what were the bills for, you didn't answer them?
Well, the invoices we provided are all redacted.
But that's what I'm saying, but isn't that public record that they say you have to make an appointment? How come you haven't? Because I'm sure it's not redacted if it's public record.
All the invoices are redacted.
Pardon me?
All the information provided is redacted, yes.
So you don't have a right to find out what the real bills, what they were for. You're saying that. Nobody has a right in city council, finance chair, nobody has a right to know?
We requested the information and that's how it was provided to us. Now we have to find a better way to get those answers. I mean, we can only ask the question so many ways.
We asked for them to waive client privilege. And, I'm sorry, Bill.
No, that's okay. I was going to say I filed an appeal with the Office of Open Records to get that information, so.
Well, it's a shame. So Billy Courtwright's behind us again.
Lenny Cerebro?
Good evening, Council. Lenny Cerebro, Scranton residents. The flooding problem in my neighborhood, they started doing something, which I'm very pleased that things are starting to get done. But I really don't think it's enough. That's my opinion. Now, I do want to give a couple of council members some credit. Tim Perry, who has been calling me and double checking, seeing how things are going, and Mr. Gahan once or twice, but I don't think it's enough. That's the bottom line. What I do have to mention, with all my trying to get something done with the flooding problem there, I do want to mention there are some people that really, I'm telling you, have been doing a lot to inform me, to try to explain things to me, and I wanted to mention their names. They're all from DPW. One guy is David Whiteau. Another guy is Ken Lewandowski. There's Dennis Gallagher that have been explaining things to me and really letting me see what's going on here. All the messages I was always calling and leaving with the problems with the flooding, etc., have been to DPW, but until I actually went there personally and tried to get some information with Sam Vitus, that I'm telling you, these people have really been helping. To the average guy, like that people are concerned, it means a lot at voting time. I want to tell you guys that, just that you're interested in finding out stuff or see how things are going, that you're really looking into it. I've been through with the former sewer authority supervisors that tell you to bull just what you want to hear, and then you never hear from them again. I heard all the excuses in the book, but I do want to say I can't forget the idea that something is being done. But I'll tell you, that was 3 weeks ago that they started flushing that big drain. They never finished it, and that's the end of it. I haven't seen the back. Now, they put in a section of the ruptured pipe in front of my property. They put that section in, and it's just like left that, it really is a mess. And the curb is gone now. They're supposed to put a curb back in. Thank God that we haven't had any really bad storms lately. But with that curb missing, that water, the drainage system can't handle, it comes down the streets in the neighborhood. So without that curb there, once again, the front of my house is going to be flooded at the next bad storm. See, that's what I'm afraid of, that now that something got done, to make me happy more or less, I don't know if they're going to come back, but I am patient, I really am, because after 20 years of all the neighbors trying to get something done, I think we're all patient in the neighborhood. But I want to tell you that the latest neighborhood talk going on is with that new power plant, the transfer plant or whatever you call it, that's up above Kaiser Avenue where the north-south road meets Kaiser Avenue. I'd like to know where the water is going to go now from that plant, that the mountain is being taken down, all the foliage is being cleared away. As far as I understand, that water is going to come down to Kaiser Avenue, and nobody really knows where it's going to go after that, except more than likely Kaiser Creek. Kaiser Creek can't handle the runoff now. Now there's going to be so much more. I'm telling you, we're in for a nightmare now with this drainage system. I'd appreciate it if you could look into, where this water is going to go. If it's going into Kaiser Creek, it's going to be a nightmare for the neighborhood there. Thank you.
And Mr. Schreiber, I'll do a follow-up with Director Gallagher after the meeting, and I'll be in touch with you shortly on seeing when that drainage pipe's going to be finished. And I can even swing by on Monday and take a look at that curve that you were talking about and see what we can get done for you.
Yeah, well, like I said, now the most important thing is that where that water is going to go from that power plant. If it goes
I'd be interested to hear from the engineer on that project.
We've contacted the solicitor's office. We have some concerns about that. We had some concerns about that earlier this year when the lights kind of appeared in that area. We're going to follow up with the solicitor and the city planner, Don King.
Thank you.
Bob Bolus?
Good evening, Council. Bob Ball of Scranton. First off, I would like to introduce Council to a Norwegian television station that's been traveling with me. They're going to be with me here today, tomorrow, and they're going to be in Harrisburg at the Trump rallies. They're just one of the countries that I brought here during the Trump rally, and we brought them here to Scranton, Pennsylvania. Today they traveled throughout the city with me, and I invited them to come here to the council. And I applaud them that they wanted to take a risk even coming here. What we need to do here, and I've listened to everybody time and time and time again. You know what, you got to understand, the horses left the barn, guys. Mr. Gahan, Mr. Wexler, whining and crying about transparency, and we want to know this and know that. Where the heck were you when you signed the recovery plan? Before you signed it, you were selling the sewer authority, you were selling the parking garages. Why didn't you say something then? Let's see what legal fees will cost. Let's see what this will cost. Let's see where we're going. What are we going to net? What's the expenses? What's the debits? What's the credits? Nobody asked that. Now you want transparency. Now you want to know where it's gone. Gentlemen, it's gone. G-O-N-E, down the toilet. That's where it's gone, and you did nothing about it. You've been here for 4 years. The issue is, you gave the parking garages away. They're nonprofit. Great deal. You gave the meters away, and Mr. Wexler, I'm going to just go along with you on something when you had made a comment about the snow removal. I'm going to take a little quote from George Carlin. You go to an airport, you buy a ticket, you're a customer. You get on the plane, you're a passenger. The plane crashes, you're a casualty. You die, you're a victim. And so on and so forth. When the parking authority took over the meters, they took over metered parking spaces. They're not the city's anymore. You don't own them. You don't own those parking spaces, and it's no way in hell your obligation to plow and clean those parking spaces for a private business. So what I want you to do is understand the logistics. Go for the money. Don't sit here crying about transparency, because let me tell you, the pot's going to go dry, and it's going darn quick. You didn't raise issues about, and I brought them up. Conboy, $1.5 million. Where were yous? 200,000 Abrahamson, millions in the sewer authority, and God knows what else went down there. Where were yous? Don't come around saying you want transparency. You're the council. You control the mayor, because if you don't sign nothing, he can't do it. Remember that. You're the watchdogs for us, and you didn't watch us. Now you're sitting here saying, oh, well, we want to fund it. And I read some of the stuff. I was in Florida. I came back, and I picked up the stuff where Mr. Wexler is talking about saving on interest payments and everything else. You gave business away. You haven't gone after a single nonprofit. You have done nothing to build the neighborhoods here. You have done nothing to build the businesses here, other than the legal cronyism is what you guys built, because you got no money to do it, and it's going to go. And then what are you going to do later on? You did not protect our assets. You didn't protect the 300 and some thousand that the councils before you and everything blew from the sale of the golf course. Look what you're doing over on Novembrino Park. Just look at all the things you haven't accomplished. And now you want us to sit here and say, geez, guys, why are you whining? You want me to bring a roll of paper towels for a crying towel? You screwed up here. You shouldn't have gave the farm away. You didn't do a thing about going after the mall, a $3 million assessment. Where are you, Mr. Wexler, Mr. Gahan? Go after them if you want to put money into the neighborhoods. You gave them almost $7 million. You bought the mall. You're as bad as the county buying the Globe store. Where's your transparency? You're confused, or we're incompetent. That's the only thing that enters here. Why aren't you whining about that? Mr. Wexler, you're now yapping about the landfill. How many meetings did you guys come to? I testified about the landfill. Where were you guys?
I was there.
Were you at every meeting?
No, I was not, but I was at the hearing, yes.
Yeah, did you testify on the hearing? Did you say what it is?
We submitted
Mr.
it.
Garhan, did you show up there and testify?
Yes, I did.
Did you come there and go on the record with DEP?
Yes, I did.
Do you live near the landfill?
No, I don't.
Then what is your issue?
I'm a city councilman.
What are you going to do with your garbage when we have nowhere to dump it? Did you make resolutions and provisions? If Mr. DeNaples tomorrow tells you, we're not taking your garbage anymore, what are you going to do with it? You know how much garbage costs to dispose of elsewhere? I'm in the business, and I can tell you, you'll bankrupt the city. So before you put your foot in something, you better know what you got an alternative plan. And right now, you guys have no alternatives. You're not worried about neighborhoods. You're not worried about what's here. You've sold the assets. You sunk the ship. Don't come whining. Real men know how to stand up and say, I screwed up, and where do we go from here? So if you want to be here, stand up and
Thank you, Mr.
become...
Bullis.
Don't thank me again, Mr. Wexler. I told you
Mr.
that in
Bullis,
the past.
Mr.
There's nothing to
Bullis,
thank me
I know
for
this
with
is
you.
good for the cameras in
Listen,
Norway,
I could
but
care
you're going
less.
over your time.
I'm here for accountability. And as a taxpayer in this city, I'm holding you accountable.
Thank you,
and I'm
Mr.
asking you
Bullis.
questions.
Thank you, Mr.
And you're
Bullis.
sitting here giving me rhetoric.
Thank you,
Give
Mr.
me a
Bullis.
straight answer. What are you going to do with the city?
Mr.
Are you going to
Bullis,
stand up as a
your
real
time is
man,
up.
you, Mr. Gahan, and take responsibility for the screw-up?
Thank you, Mr. Bullis.
Or are you going to
Your
stand
time
up as
is
a man and
I
take
know this
responsibility?
plays well in Norway,
Well,
but your
forget what
time
it
is
is.
up. Thank you.
Don't make excuses and try and bury it. I was on the Eastmount neighborhood with you, remember?
Thank you,
And I
Mr.
left
Bullis.
because of your dictatorial attitude, and it's the same damn attitude you got
thank you,
here.
Mr. Bullis. You're over
Become
your time.
responsible, and maybe you'll become accountable.
Thank
I
you.
just hope voters have a better sense and get rid of people like you.
Thank you, Mr. Bullis. Gerard Hetman?
Good evening, Council. Gerard Hetman from the Lackawanna County Commissioner's Office. To begin this evening, the Lackawanna County Commissioner's Bike Safety Fair will be held Saturday, May 13th, 10 a.m. to noon at McDade Park. We will have free bike helmets for all children in attendance, along with free refreshments and fingerprinting by the Lackawanna County District Attorney's Office. We'll also have free bike safety lessons and advice from our local police departments, including the Scranton Police Department. Lieutenant Nemeka will be there again this year, we plan on. I always look forward to having him. Also, along with the Bike Safety Fair, we have our annual bike helmet coloring contest active again. This is one of our entry blanks. Children can color and submit the bike helmet with their own design. The form is available for download at www.lackawannacounty.org and also at any Lackawanna County library system library. All I have to do is mail it in to the Commissioner's office. The address is on the back. Drop it off in person or scan and email the entry in, and we'll collect them all. The Commissioners choose one male and one female winner to win a free bike. We'll also have a bike available the day of the event as a door prize for any child that does not win the helmet coloring contest. So look forward to seeing everyone at McDade Park. Secondly, the 5th Annual Lackawanna County Job Fair will take place on Thursday, May 25th, 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. at PNC Field. Once again, we'll have over 60 local employers present, bringing full-time, part-time, seasonal job opportunities, as well as internships that are available. We should note that we moved the event a little bit earlier on the schedule during the year because over the past few years, we've seen more and more attendees of high school and college age looking for summer work. It seems like the folks seeking full-time jobs and part-time aren't as numerous as they were the first few years. So we moved it ahead to try to accommodate the crowd that we've seen in recent years in terms of their demand. Along with the job fair, PA CareerLink in Lackawanna County is hosting a job fair preparation workshop. It's Wednesday, May 17th, 11 a.m. at the CareerLink office at 135 Franklin Avenue in Scranton. Their tagline is make the most of your job fair experience. They'll offer tips and advice on things such as developing your elevator speech, questions to ask, following up with potential employers, and much more. A really good program they put together. I think this is their 3rd year of doing this in conjunction with the job fair. If someone hasn't been to a job fair before, this is a good opportunity to know what to expect when you walk in. Also, our Parks and Recreation Spring Fishing Derby at McDade Park will be held on Saturday, May 6th. 10:30 a.m. it begins for ages 4 through 8, and then 1 o'clock p.m. for ages 9 through 12. The registration cost is $5, and they want us to note that no spinners are allowed to be used. For information, you can call Parks and Recreation at 570-963-6764. Also, our Parks and Recreation Youth Tennis Clinic series is now open for registration. We always offer a variety of locations around the county with this. This year we have 11 different spots that offer the clinic. Same instruction, but we try to bring this out into the neighborhoods around the county as much as we can because we get a good turnout and folks like to go to their nearest tennis court to get the lessons. It's open to children ages 8 through 16. The cost is $15 to register. It's made up of 6 90-minute lessons for the course of the clinic. They ask that you register by Friday, June 9th. You can do so by calling 570-963-6764. And last but not least, we have the Ride the Trolley attraction going again this year from the Electric City Trolley Museum to the Scranton Wilkes-Barre Rail Riders games at PNC Field. This year there are 9 game dates available. The first one is May 7th, and the last one is August 27th. The trolley departs at 12:15 for all games. Each of those games is a 1:05 start, so you have just under an hour to get there on the trolley. The cost is $20 if you don't have a ticket already. That will get you the trolley ride and the ticket. Or if you come with your own game ticket, it's $11 just for the trolley ride. They ask that you RSVP by calling the Trolley Museum at 570-963-6590. And that's all we have for this month. Thank you.
Thank you. Norma Jeffries.
Norma Jeffries, Scranton resident.
Norma, do you want to just pull the mic down a little bit?
Sure.
There you go.
Is that better?
I can hear you better then.
Good. Again, Norma Jeffries, Scranton resident, and I was raised here in Scranton, graduated from Tech High School, and Lackawanna Business College at the time that I was going there, and got married and moved to Philadelphia and then Chemung, New Jersey, where we raised 2 boys. After 38 years of marriage, and I'm a widow now, so I came back to Scranton. And I live in the Hill section, and I have 4 sisters here, and we all live within 5 minutes of each other. We'd call to get together for dinner, and I was always late because I got lost, because I couldn't find my way to Prescott Avenue, to Richter Drive, to Olive Street, from where I live on Wheeler Avenue. So my main way of traveling is down Ash Street and Gibson Street. Those are 2 streets I go down. I never thought my car was going to make it. When I looked at Ash Street from Wyoming, you look up, you know, my car's never going to make that, but it did. But after getting lost, and my sister's laughing at me, oh, she must be lost because she's not here, I'd wind up at the tank down there, and wherever that is. I always wound up down there. And I call and tell them where I was, and they would direct me back to where I'm supposed to be. So this became my mission, to get street signs. So over the months, I do have some. Should I give these to you? Or should I give them to whoever? Yeah. I did make some copies of the street signs that I go up and down. And you'll see the X marks say that those are the street signs that are missing. My one sister lives on Prescott, so I was always getting lost there because there's no street sign. And so this Sunday in the paper, the little article on the side was an article on the editorial page from a lady from Buffalo, New York. And she was concerned about the faded signs. That's my next project, is to make a list of the faded signs as to continue with this. So my concern and why I decided to do this, that if I'm frustrated, and I think, Mr. Gahn, you were at a Hill section meeting where there was another concern there about them. Mm-hmm. If I'm getting lost, I'm better now because I've been here a while. So if I'm getting lost, there are certainly others that are getting lost as well. So I come tonight to ask if signs can be put up, and some kind of directional signs for people like me and other people that are also in the city. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for your hard work. Lee Morgan.
Good evening, Council. I guess the first thing I'll say is, I'd like to touch on something the last speaker spoke about, and those are street signs. There were street signs in our city that were legible, and I don't know how old those signs were. I'd have to guess they were probably there 50 or 60 years. But politics, being what politics is, instead of replacing a couple signs and having a sign department inside the city, we decided we were going to spend money. And these signs aren't very old, and a lot of them are faded because there's no quality to them. They're just cheap, disposable, and somebody made a lot of money. But I'm going to say this. The people who, I'm a truck driver, so I'm in a lot of places. I was on Route 2061 the other day, and somebody on their porch has a Scranton street sign. Okay? It says Larch and Sanderson. That sign will be there for 100 years and people will be able to read it. So I just think the residents of this city really have to realize what's happened to this city over an extended period of time, considering we've been distressed for 25 years. And now the city's in worse shape than it was when it went into this process. And last week I gave my number, which I'll give again, 570-604-1212, because I'm looking for 3 council candidates to run a write-in against whoever comes out for council, and I think they can win. I had the opportunity to talk to a lady who had an assessment done on her house. She was thinking about selling it. She thought it was worth $80,000. And when the assessment was come through, and believe me, that's a really low ball price. I've seen the house. This lady spent a lot of money there. It's obscene. It came in at $48,500. She almost had a heart attack. But she has another house outside the city. And, you know, the rental registration, another just silly legislation, because if you know anybody who rents to people, and I'm not talking about, you know, people that are hooked into the system getting subsidized rents or getting, you know, money from the state or the federal government to do their projects. People are fleeing the city, and they're very disgusted about what's happened with the sewer authority, but now they see their sewer bill and their water bill combined, and they're looking at it, and they're really taking notice. But you know, the starkest thing of all is that we have no money for the stormwater system, and I'm just wondering if any of the councilmen have gone to the PUC and asked them to recalculate Pennsylvania Americans' water sewage rates, because the council and the mayor gave away the stormwater collection system money with the authority because nobody, well, really nobody cares about the residents in this city. And, you know, it's really time for people to realize one thing. The Democratic and Republican parties, they're the problem. And the ordinary people, especially the ones in this city, I don't know, imagine paying $600 of rent and another $400 for your water, your sewer, your heat, you know, your utilities. That's $1,000. Most people are making $10 an hour here. So how do they feed themselves? How do they buy a car? And how do they do any of the other things they need to do? They don't. And this council is responsible for that, and previous ones. You know, Janet Evans was right when she sent the Scranton Parking Authority into receivership, because it should have stopped the borrowing, but it didn't. Because the council here, you're on the lowest rung of politics, and the people up over the top of you, maybe state senators, state representatives, they tell you people what to do. They send the money down here to you and tell you spend it. And that's what you do. But as far as anything that has any value to the average Scrantonian, it doesn't happen here. And the sewer authority money, it's gone. And how much went into the pension? I don't think anything yet. And I'm not so sure anything will go into it. And you know, the sad part is, the city employees are so naive and so silly because they've backed all the political candidates for council. And in the end, they've got nothing. The pensions are underwater so severely it's obscene. And the residents, their houses aren't worth anything. And the rental registration, that's nice, but tons of rentals are empty because people won't come here. They won't rent here and they won't live here. And there's so many people I've come across that are trying to sell their properties and get out of here. It's ridiculous. You know, what we really need is we need a bell for the council, okay? But what we really need that bell to do is to basically politically knock these candidates out and bring people in here that understand that in order to turn this city around, the politics has to end, but it has to end in Harrisburg first. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Morgan. Bill Jackowitz?
Good evening, Scranton City Council, Kathy, stenographer, Lori, Amo. Do any of you remember when Mayor Doherty was, Mayor Courtwright was running for mayor, and he uttered the same words that Mayor Doherty uttered, that he would be the 6th councilman? Do any of you remember that? Where he said that he would be attending city council meetings?
Yes.
Okay, because he did say he was going to be attending city council meetings and he would be having his staff members attend city council meetings. Just think how much easier it would be on you 5 if the mayor came once a month and answered questions from the citizens, or answered questions from the city council, or if once a week one of the members of his staff, his administration, would attend city council to answer questions also. Just think of how much easier of a job you would have and how much less headaches you would have. And I really think you ought to try to do something about that. You know, at least give him invites every month. I know you can't force him or twist his arm to come, but at least do something, you know, because let's face it, we just don't get very many answers from city council, and I understand that because you don't have the answers. Because you're not the administration, you're the legislative branch. I understand that. But what I'm saying is, let's get the administration here, you know, or at least give them the opportunity to attend a council meeting and talk with the citizens. You know, that's all I'm asking. You know, all you can do is say no every month. And if he says no every month, then you make that public, that he was invited and he said no. You know, it's as simple as that. But because, like I said, there's too many unanswered questions. And my next question is, how much revenue do we generate from the parking meters, the city of Scranton? How much money does the city of Scranton actually get from the parking meters?
0.
0, that's what I thought. So why are we plowing for them?
Parking spots are part of the street. We are responsible for paving this, or plowing the streets.
Well, if we're responsible for plowing the street from curb to curb, then why isn't that done in the neighborhoods?
It's done where there aren't parked cars.
It's not done in the neighborhoods.
They plow where they can't, they plow where they can in the neighborhoods. If there's parked cars on the street, they can't, we don't remove cars from the street, so we can't plow curb to curb in the neighborhoods because people are parked on the street.
Well, maybe we should start removing cars from the street, towing them and having them pay a fine.
I agree with you.
And that's another way to generate revenue.
I agree with you. They should.
Because we're always, it seems to me like we're giving away the farm again. We're gonna plow for them, but yet they get all the revenue, they get all the money.
Just one thing about that also, the parking authority is leasing the spaces from the city. The city still owns, although it's leasing it, we're still responsible for plowing the streets for the parking spots.
Well, approximately how much does the parking authority pay on the lease?
That, they lend us money up front and we're paying them back over a 40-year term.
Okay, so are we making out on the deal or are we losing on the deal?
Personally, I believe that it got us out of the default and it got us out of the parking business, so right now I think it was a good deal for the city.
Okay, and like I said, the main thing is, we got an election coming up. I hope people pay attention. I hope people pay attention to what's been going on. I mean, the gentleman up here who has the problem with the runoff, they removed his curb. That was one of the worst things they could do, is remove his curb, because now he's really got a major problem. And that's what we should be doing all over the city, is putting curbs in. You can pave all you want, pave the streets, but if you don't put any curbs in, the water's gonna run down, form at the bottom, and next thing you know, you're gonna have floods. So that's one other thing that you guys really need to look at is, and talk with the administration about, or whoever, DPW or whoever you need to talk to get curbs put in, because there's no curbs at all in the city of Scranton. And that's one of the biggest problems. I mean, I'm 69 years old, and the same areas have been flooding for 69 years, and they're still flooding. You know, and if you go over to those areas, you'll see no curbs in the areas. So we really need to, you know, somebody needs to do something, whether it be the administration, whether it be city council. You guys are the 7 elected officials in the city of Scranton, including the city controller, and you're elected for a reason, and you're there to work for the people and to do the people's work for them, because the people can't do it because we don't have the power. But when you were elected, you were given that power to do certain things, and I really think we need to get on the ball, because we're approaching 9,000 days of being distressed. Think about it, 9,000 days.
Thank you. Thank you. John Foley?
Gentlemen, I have 3 issues. I'll try and be brief. The sewer authority deal, the rental registration fee, and the 2017 budget. The sewer deal. I think I found $5 million of the $12 million. I'd love to tell you what it is, but only if you will agree to 4 conditions. First, I will do a forensic audit for free. You must give me complete and unfettered access to the records. You must waive attorney-client privilege. That's easy to do. Dissolve the authority. You have the power to do it. Any money recovered has to go into the union pension plans. And 3, the report must be made public. Very simple. The second issue, the rental registration fee. At some point, you have to realize the people appointed by the mayor do not have the depth and breadth of experience in the department. That's why you need to seek outside consultants to try and fix your problem. Not necessary. I'm reluctant to do this, but I'm going to do it anyway. You want to fix the problem? First, take everybody who paid, make a list, and the people in the lips can make that list now. 2, and this is the easy one. During the Civil War, the federal government instituted a law which they called the Whistleblower Action. It was essentially asking people to come forward and show fraud, waste, and abuse. And they actually got a taste, a percentage of the recovery. The Medicare program has a similar law in place. What I would urge the city to do is to initiate a penalty. Could be doubles, could be triples. It could be whatever is collected on a daily basis by unregistered rentals. And then you advertise it. You tell the public that if they come forward and they tell you who these properties are and where they are, and if in fact you are able to recover registration fee and any penalties, you will split the money with them. I would dare say that you might have 70,000 whistleblowers in the city of Scranton. The simple way to do it. You don't need a consultant to do that. All you need to do is have the will to do it and let the people in the department do what they're supposed to do instead of hiring outside consultants. The third item is the 2017 budget I have written to the city business administrator, pointing out at least one issue in the budget. There is an error, a material error in the projection of health insurance cost. I have not heard anything about it. It doesn't appear that anybody wants to deal with it, but that is not the only issue. There are other issues. And if the budget was done correctly, you would have had to raise taxes this year. If anybody would like to see the letter that I wrote, it's on the Greenridge Neighborhood Association website. The other issues that I have identified, I will send a similar letter. Mr. Wexler, you have been copied in the letter. I will point it out. These are not political letters. These letters deal with, I would not call it inept. I will call it that there are serious mistakes in the budget. They will also be posted on the Greenridge Neighborhood Association website. So if anybody would like to see them, they are there. With that, gentlemen, you have a great evening.
Thank you. Thank you. Anyone else?
Good evening, Marie Schumacher. And I guess, Mr. Wexler, it's your birthday today, so happy birthday.
Having a ball.
Okay.
You're living the dream on your birthday. All right.
Hey, okay. Clerical contract, do we have a contract with the clerical union yet?
No,
Not yet.
And how long has it been?
a long time.
It's been in negotiations. for
Yeah,
quite
they
a
were
while.
supposed to meet this week, my understanding. I don't know what the results of that were. I know they were supposed to meet this week.
Unbelievable. What about the double pension subpoenas? What is the
Mr. Menard just
status
told
there?
us this evening, now it's June 28th is our hearing.
I'm sorry, argument is June 28th, yes.
Whose court? Do we know?
Sorry?
Whose court?
Just call me at the office next
Okay.
week. I don't remember.
Okay, thank you. Let's see, 2, 3. Did anybody notice the picture that was in the paper of the Young's property a couple weeks ago where they shot it from the street behind the property? Did you notice how that wall was sort of leaning in?
That's a concern.
Has there been a weight restriction put on that road?
Not that I'm aware of, but I don't think there's, that's a dead, is that a dead end? I think that's a dead end.
Yeah,
back
it's a
there,
dead
yeah,
end.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But yeah, so that should be looked at, I agree.
And while we're in DPW kinds of things, when are the vacuum and sweeper trucks going to come out? I mean, I have swept all 194 feet of my property and put a pile there, and I can tell you there's an awful lot of silt in with that.
I just got
Now-
the list. I just got the list today from the mayor, so we'll have it. I just got it before the meeting, so I will pass.
So when are they
I haven't
starting?
had a chance to read it. I just got it today.
Okay. I mean, you talk stormwater, what that does to drains when all that gravel and silt goes down there. And how many trucks? We have 2 trucks?
Yeah, we
That's
added,
what we,
added
that's
some
what,
in the.
oh, which reminds
from
me.
the sewer sale.
Okay, I said 2 because that's what I saw on the list of what we were insuring. Why did we pay the full premium when we took properties off that?
For the insurance contract?
Mhm.
We're going to get, from what I understand from talking to the business administrator, we're going to get a credit back.
Yeah, at the end.
Credit toward what? You mean, we're
We're
going to
go-
get cash back?
That's what I understand from speaking to
I
him.
think the
yes.
policy is audited every year, and funds are we either have an increase or money returned to us.
Okay. And then, again, the better late than never, I would say, rental registration. I don't know why we are, again, spending money for that. I mean, how many times did I come to this podium sometimes after attending a 6:30 Scranton Sewer Authority meeting to tell you they hired a person who did nothing but go out and check all the properties. They know how many properties are rentals. Why don't we get that from the Scranton Sewer Authority? Why didn't we do that when it was the authority? I don't even know how we can have a sewer authority when we don't own a sewer system, but you people saw differently than I did on that.
Well, there's still lawsuits pending against the sewer authority. That's why it still exists. There's still issues with the easements that still exist.
Well, I understand that, but that
that's why
could
you
have been
still
done by a contract. The way I look at it, it's giving
It's their
somebody
responsibility to gain
$100 and some
Yeah, there's still
$1,000, over $100,000 for 3 years, and that's the real purpose.
I disagree.
Okay, you have that right. Okay. Do you still have the Monday meetings or weekly meetings with PEL? And when are they going to bring forth that trust agreement of how the proceeds from the Scranton Sewer Authority asset sale?
Well, that's actually in the law department. That's going to be written in the law department, so.
So when?
I thought we were looking at June is the time frame that we were looking at to get that done.
That was sooner rather than later, from March 10th?
Well, it's government. I think you should be used to that by now, Maureen. 3 months is actually lightning speed around here.
And then just finish up with one quick one. How much is in the budget for the third-party administrator? Are we giving somebody an annual contract, or is that going to be by event?
We don't know yet. We didn't see it yet.
You're kidding.
Well,
you don't know what's in the budget for that?
Well, it's an RFP, so.
Well, yeah, but there's got to be money in the budget. They couldn't issue an RFP,
Yeah,
right?
I'll have to check to see if it's in the budget or not. It's a professional service, so it may be, it may not.
Check back with you on that next week. Thank you.
Good evening, Council. Dave Dobson, resident of Scranton and taxpayer. Today on the way down, I noticed the Cedar Avenue block, 300 block, was recently paved right into the city, our entrance to the city, and it's on its way to certain destruction already, thanks to our utility company. So I don't know who's doing it, but shame, shame, shame. We have to get after these people and stay after them. Also, there was a Scranton Sewer Authority truck. They did some work on 611 Crown. They broke our fine old antique curb, the slate, and it's just standing there like that. So it looks like they put in a new water valve. So I wish they'd start repairing what they break and not just taking advantage of people. Last week I was too ill to attend, but I heard on trash once again, and I heard it again this week. Paid my trash bill today, got $30 off. But the point being, I could just scream when I hear per bag. I don't need people throwing, and this went on for 21 years. I lived up the country, and whoever didn't have the money or whatever to pay for their per bag fee, they just tossed it over there on our lawn, and it went on at 2 different locations for 21 years. The landlord didn't want to hear about it. He just didn't want to see it happening. He's up complaining about it. Well, I'm not there all day. And furthermore, you rent it to him. But if we have a disabled or seniors discount, why can't we just have a barrel similar to our recycling barrel with Scranton's name on it, and those people would have it passed out to them when they pay the bill, And that's what they would put out every week and have it removed. And when it comes time, you know, they could pay an extra $10 the first year or whatever, and have it replaced when it needs to be replaced. But bags are bad news. People are stealing labels off of bags. And furthermore, with the recycling, if you had the haulers and the people picking up the trash, keeping an open eye, and just had some kind of sticker that, look, fella, or whatever, there's too many recyclables in this barrel. No fine, no nothing, just a little prod to get them to recycle, because we're paying for that too, and it goes up the landfill instead of, but I am in no means complaining about the trash fee, because I know what it costs up there. 2 bags a week would easily put you at about $500. I had a little brainstorm on pensions, competing plans. Maybe we should find 2 pension administrators and put them in competition with each other to see who could earn the most money for a change. Because one, you're putting all your eggs in one basket, and when that basket breaks, well, so do the eggs. I also heard about a bike path. Excuse me. My concern is our city congested enough? And would we be giving up parking meter spaces, etc., and then coping with bikes? I could hardly get in here today. I had to sit right through a red light or a green light because the traffic was right across Washington Avenue. And it's a concern. I'm not against green space or whatever, but we're crowded down here. And by the way, it would drive people into parking garages. Cost me $7 to come to a meeting if I can't get a space. And I'll make it fast. And by the way, their elevators in the Washington garage still aren't repaired. None of them are working. 3 or 4 flights of steps up and down. So, it's time people do what they promise. Thank you and have a good night.
I spoke to Mr. Michael Gaughan, who's my contact at NDC, who's the leaser of the. They are working on getting the RFP out for the repair of the garages. I'm due to check with him tomorrow. Originally, he gave me an issue date of May the 1st, which is Monday. I'll be getting with him tomorrow to see if they've made progress on that.
Hopefully soon.
Yeah, I check with him every other week.
Yeah.
And every other week, at least May 1st has remained constant for a month, but May 1st is Monday, so we'll see if it happens. But we are aware of it, and we're trying to get that remedy, because I know it's a hardship.
Yeah, it's needed. And you have the medical arts building across the street. There's a lot of people that have trouble getting up and down. Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Fifth order, 5A motions.
Mr. Perry?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Wexler, and happy birthday.
Thank you.
Happy birthday. Yes, I have a couple things tonight. The first thing I want to touch on was about the public hearing we had today before the meeting, just to give you kind of a sum up on what's taking place there. Attorney Moran and Mr. Mancielli, I hope I didn't mess his name up too bad, Mr. Mancielli, who's engineer of the project, came to speak with us about what's happening. We're going to be vacating an alley behind North Main Street in West Scranton for the purpose of trying to get phase 2 of a RACP project going. If you remember, this is a project over in West Scranton where there's going to be some major economic growth happening over there with some mixed-use properties. There's going to be some medical institutions, some apartment houses upstairs, and some office spaces. This is going to take place on both sides of the street. It's going to be quite a big issue and quite a big to-do over there. I know the residents there are happy for the most part that this is taking place. There was some issues brought up about some kids hanging around the alley that we're about to vacate, but I feel as though that once we give this to this project company, that once it's developed, that's going to take away their place to hang out. I don't see any issue with that. They're looking for a target completion date between March and April of 2018. I asked a question. I know how Main Street is busy, but they said they do not anticipate any traffic pattern disruptions during the time of either demolition or the construction of this property. And again, this is going to bring some jobs into the city, and it's going to look nice when it's finished. So I'm very happy that this project's moving further. Some update, the sinkhole on Dorothy Street, we got correspondence back from Director Gallagher in the Tripp Park area. That has been completed. Last week I reported that they had the P1 call and they marked off everything so they can dig and fix what happened, and the issue was a pipe got disconnected, and that obviously with the water running and just created a sinkhole. The pipe was reconnected and fixed. They topsoiled it, they seeded it, and that project should be done and over with. So I want to thank Director Gallagher and DPW for taking care of that. Also, Ms. Reed, if we could, with Mr. Cerebro, let's just do a follow-up on his situation. I know that curb issue is new. This is the first time that I heard about the curb not being replaced if it was there. So let's just get a letter out to the director and see if that curb is going to be replaced, and if it's not, I really do think it should be, as well as where we are with allocating equipment to finish that main drain line that needs to be cleaned out. And Mr. Cerebro, my next day off is Monday, so I'll take a swing by, I'll stop by and just see the progress that was made, and we can touch base on see if anything happened on Friday or Monday morning before I get there. There was two other things brought up. The street signs, which I can't agree more. I know traveling the city all the time, you know, a hill section I believe is where you're from. I'm from Manuka, but even if I go just further south side and you start to get up in that area, you have to slow down to almost a stop before you can actually see. You have to get almost right on top of that sign. And even then, maybe you could read it if the sign is there. It's a large city, geographically it's huge, a lot of intersections, but that's not an excuse not to have those signages. So, you know, and I know Councilman Gahan also brought this up many times. A lot of times when we hit something, it's funding. And where does that funding lie within the prioritization of the administration? So I'm going to, let's reach out to the mayor, Mrs. Reed, and ask him maybe if he can set up a meeting with me sometime next week or the week after that. And I just want to touch base with him on where he feels these street signs lie within his scope right now. Because I know funding is an issue, but that doesn't, you know, it still should be there. We have to put our heads together between council and administration and come up with something to get these taken care of, even if it doesn't have to be all at once. But if we just change them out street after street every so often and we start making some progress, it's better than just letting what's there go. That's my philosophy on that. And finally, with Ms. Honawanitz, I also am very interested to see how the third-party administrator is being advertised and what avenues they're using. If you want the biggest, best, and the brightest, you know, you have to go get it. They're not going to always come to you, especially if they don't know the job's there. So if we can make a call or send a letter to Solicitor Boyles, and just, it doesn't have to be anything formal. She can just give us a call back at the office. I'm just very interested to know on how is this being advertised and what avenues they're taking to find our TPA. I know we're all pretty much, at this point, we're all ready to get the TPA on board, and you know, we would like to know how we're going about finding that. And I believe that's all I have for today. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Rogan? Yes, thank you. Couple of items on agenda items and a couple non-agenda items as well. I guess I'll follow up where Mr. Perry left off in the street signs. This is very helpful to have a list like this, and along with Mr. Perry's letter, if we could include the list, and obviously funding is one of the biggest issues. As part of that letter, if we could also include maybe a second letter to the OECD Director, Linda Abley, and also to Mr. Gallagher, I would like to see if the DPW director would be willing to put in an application for CDBG funding for street signs. Now, that being said, if that happens and it's approved, it can only be used in certain areas in the city that fit the low to moderate income thresholds where we can use our CDBG money. We've paved a lot of roads using the CDBG funding, and there's some areas that have been, fully paved, but you don't know what road you're on. So it's definitely something that we need to do. And also the curbs were brought up, and one thing that's really starting to get under my skin is some of the roads that have been paved in the city, they don't have a curb in or a drainage system where the newly paved street is running out. West Mountain Road is the perfect example, and I know that there's a ton of water problems from West Mountain all the way down to Kaiser Valley. So that's something as well that as roads are paved, we need to make sure they're maintained. We can't let roads get eroded out from underneath. So that's it on the street signs. Regarding the CDBG applications, actually, and I have to pull the email back up, but I did speak with Mr. Priambo earlier this week, and the normal open period is normally the first week of June through the first week of August for CDBG applications. So for any of the nonprofits that are out there or other agencies, neighborhood groups that do want to apply for CDBG funding through the city, that application period is going to be opening up in the next few weeks. There will be a notice placed in the paper and on the website. That will be in the first week of June, and applications will be available on the city's website as well. So I just want to get word out there that for any of the organizations that are interested in applying, to please consider putting in an application. We would like to see some new organizations apply this year. It seems every year it's the same groups that keep applying, and many of them do great work. But we would like to fund some other activities as well with our CDBG allotment. Regarding item 5C, this is regarding the streetlight maintenance, and I don't see a dollar sign on here, but one thing I do want to mention is because we now shortly we'll have all LED lights in the city. I do want to see if the maintenance contract, if the cost is going to be significant, it should be significantly less what the city is actually paying. The LEDs were billed to the city as being a big cost saving, both on electric use, which we know is true, and on maintenance as well. But I would like to see what the comparison is versus what we're currently paying and what this bid is at. And also if the new technology is more expensive to maintain. Oftentimes, something may be newer, but it'll be more expensive to maintain as well. So I do want to take a look at that. Luckily, this is fifth order, so we do have a couple more weeks to look into that. And Mr. Perry also brought this up as well regarding the court on the 1200 block of South Main Avenue. I did have some concerns brought to me by residents. I will be in touch with them to make sure we get all that straightened out prior to a final vote next week. So I will coordinate that with those residents that had concerns and report back to my colleagues if there are any issues. At that point, if we had to consider tabling it, but I think they should be able to be sorted out. And finally, this was in our mailbox today, and it's a bit of good news. It's from the Steamtown National Historic Site. And I'm not going to read the entire report, but it says, tourism to Steamtown National Historic Site creates $7.4 million in economic benefits. Reports show visitor spending supported 86 jobs in the local economy. And the first paragraph goes on to say, a new National Park Service report shows that 99,600 visitors to Scranton's National Historic Site in 2016 spent $5,403,500 in communities near the park. That spending supported 86 jobs in the local area and had a cumulative benefit to the local economy of $7.4 million. So I do want to mention that, and I do want to mention that the Steamtown Historic Site is a hidden gem in the city, even though we are Steamtown. So many residents don't know it exists and don't know it's out there. So definitely go in and check it out. And it's definitely a historical park that I support, and I hope that everyone could take a chance to go see it, because it is in our hometown. I think the coal mine tour gets a lot of attention, and that's a great tour as well, but the National Historic Site deserves some credit as well. And that is all. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rogan. Mr. Evans?
Thank you. Marie recently asked about Muni Services. I'm not sure if I answered that fully, but the state through DCED contracted with open.gov to provide their services to municipalities of Pennsylvania. Act 47 cities, which of course we are, were allowed to be first in as part of a trial. So open.gov, to my knowledge, is a much more robust product than what Muni Services was going to provide, and it's being provided at no cost. So hopefully, and at that time, Muni Services, basically their contract never started. So we're saving approximately $70,000 a year by not going with Muni Services. But we do expect open.gov to be up and running most likely over the next few weeks. They're inputting some information now, so we'll keep an eye on that. On the third-party rental registration RFP, I'd like to thank B.A. Bolzoni for taking the lead on this and getting it done finally. I guess better late than never. Although I didn't think it was going to take 20 years of failure to finally put out an RFP for the actual registration and identification process of the rental registration ordinance. But when I talk about government, and I touched on this a little bit before, government moves at a glacial pace. I mean a glacial pace. But even I didn't anticipate 20 years of futility before action was taken. It's important to reach out to every source for information that would help this process. Last week at City Council, I discussed the information that the county had since the abandonment of the 2009 reassessment. Every parcel, every home, every multifamily unit, every commercial building was inventoried in the city of Scranton by 21st Century Appraisals, the company that was doing the reassessment. In 2009, we knew what those parcels were, how big those buildings were, the use of those buildings, and the condition at that time. Valuable information that would have been extremely helpful to the License and Inspection Department in their quest to register rental units, and will be helpful to a third party who will be hired to assist LIPS. Despite my prodding for nearly 8 years, no one ever asked for the information. That ended this week as a formal letter was sent from this council at my request to the Lackawanna County Commissioners, asking that the information that taxpayers paid millions of dollars for be finally shared with the city of Scranton. So I eagerly await the response. I want to talk about one of my other favorite subjects, which is fees. I requested this in the past, but I'd like to make a more formal request to the director of LIPS to review every current fee that is being charged through their department. I would like a report on each fee and justification for the amount currently being charged. And finally, recommendations to reduce, consolidate, and eliminate fees where appropriate. So hopefully that letter will go out next week. This is a page out of our 2017 budget, and I think I've shown this to council before. There's over 40 fees that the License and Inspection Department is responsible for to generate $2.3 million in the 2017 budget. 17 of those fees generate less than $10,000 each. So the question I would have to ask is this truly the list of a business-friendly city? So hopefully we'll get a response. I did ask for it informally before, but I'm putting that into a formal request, and we'll see where that goes. And finally, I'm very concerned with the recent proliferation of graffiti in our city, both on public property and private property. Many years ago, I formed a small group of volunteers under the name of the Anti-Graffiti Network. For months and months, we removed and painted over graffiti on the predominantly public areas that were being ignored by those who were responsible for them. At the time, we also helped craft the graffiti ordinance, which today has become part of the quality of life ticket program. Not many people know this, but the owners of private property that have been tagged with graffiti are ultimately responsible for removing the graffiti in a reasonable time frame. While I recognize that these property owners are also victims of vandalism, and that is what graffiti is, vandalism, the only way to ultimately combat this blight is to continually remove it and remove it quickly. So I would like to also request from LIPS that they provide me with a list of how many quality of life tickets or warnings have been issued this year relative to the graffiti ordinance. And finally, I would like to also ask LIPS to remember that the goal is to remove graffiti, not necessarily make money on the backs of the victims. I would prefer that where appropriate, warnings be given to the affected property owners prior to any issuance of a quality of life ticket. And that's all I have for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Evans. Mr. Gahan?
Yes, thank you. Quite a few items tonight. First of all, I want to thank Mrs. Jeffries for providing us with this list. I really appreciate it. I've been on this issue now for the last 3.5 years, and sometimes I feel like I'm banging my head against a wall. As you mentioned, not only at the Hill Neighborhood Association meeting that I attended, but all over the city, there are problems with the street signs. So I would love to be a part of the meeting with the mayor and Mr. Perry to further investigate it and come up with a solution that works for everybody. Because this not only is a public safety issue, but it is a DPW issue and a citywide issue. So again, I'd love to be part of that meeting and see what the mayor has to say. As I mentioned last week, I've been getting inundated, and I continue to get inundated with emails and phone calls, and I get stopped on the street about the garbage fee discount. When I mentioned last week about the gentleman who came down to City Hall and tried to get the 10% discount on his garbage fee, and he was turned away because he lives in a double home, and they told him that they were doing him a favor by not charging him $600 instead of $300. Nobody lives in the other side of the house. So what the administration is saying and the Treasury Department is saying is that if you own a double home and the other side is empty, you don't qualify for the discount. And that makes absolutely no sense. So there are several people now that have come forward that I believe are rightfully owed this 10% discount, and they got ripped off. So I've been in contact. Mrs. Reed has been working on this diligently, and I would hope that this issue is going to be taken care of and taken care of soon, and that these checks are issued, refund checks are issued to these people, along with a letter of apology to them for their inconvenience, because several of them have told me that they were not treated very kindly when they went down on the first floor. So I'm not too happy about that. Another issue that has come up, and I was out on North Rebecca Avenue this past week, 524 North Rebecca Avenue. This house is about to fall down. The back porch just recently collapsed. Neighbors are extremely concerned, and rightfully so. They've been getting the same story from what they tell me, that the house is condemned. It may be torn down, it may not be torn down, but it's a major issue. So I would like council to send a letter to the Licensing and Inspections Department asking for this house to be torn down immediately. It needs to be a priority for the city to take this house down. Everywhere I went on that block, that was the one house that everybody talked about. And I feel really bad for the people who live on both sides, because they've been living a nightmare for the past 10 years. So if we could put extra emphasis and priority on that, I would really appreciate it. I also spoke to neighbors down in the 400 block of Phelps Street. They continue to be concerned about flooding. I know Councilman Wexler and I were out there several times. We've seen the pictures, we've seen the aftermath. If anyone can believe it, when we get a very heavy rain, the 400 block of Phelps Street is completely underwater. Their cars are literally floating in the middle of the block, and Councilman Wexler can attest to that. Now, neighbors were told that since the sewer authority was sold, that the city is now responsible. So again, I'd like to send a letter to the DPW and ask what is going to be done on that problem. The landfill came up tonight, and the news that a county judge ruled against, an out-of-county judge ruled against the Friends of Lackawanna zoning appeal. And I pray that the Friends of Lackawanna are successful in appealing that zoning decision. And I think that we need to stand together as a community to help them and do whatever we can in their fight against the expansion of the landfill. And in my opinion, this expansion, if successful, will be one of the great injustices ever in our region's history. And my fear for my children and your children, your grandchildren, your families, is that our region is going to be a symbol for out-of-state trash. And I hope and I pray to God that they are successful in their fight, and I stand behind them 100%. I did attend this past week a Hill Section neighborhood meeting. There were several concerns from neighbors. One of them is that there is no recycling taking place in alleys. Several residents are concerned, they feel discriminated against because they live in an alley and the DPW doesn't pick up their recycling. So I'm going to touch base with Director Gallagher tomorrow or next week. Two other things. The 900 block of Farber Court is in awful condition, needs to be patched and put on a paving list, and Stip Court needs to be paved and patched. Also, several complaints about Naog Park. The volleyball courts are overgrown, and the park in general needs to be maintained and it needs to be raked. Several people who go up there all the time have complained to me several times now. On the street sweeping program, Councilman Wexler got the list. I think I continue to ask the administration to be more efficient with this program. Again, this came up at the neighborhood meeting last night that I was at in the Hill section. I think the people that take part, the employees do a wonderful job. I'm not saying that they don't, but I think that the people need to know when they're coming out so they can either move their cars and be prepared so they can successfully clean the streets. I've talked to the administration about this. I don't know why they're not willing to do something that's more efficient. I've looked at other cities up and down the East Coast. It can be done. So again, I would implore them to be more efficient with this program. Another issue up on East Mountain, I was actually approached last night about it. There's confusion between Yezu Lane and Yezu Drive on East Mountain. A woman had called an ambulance and she had to wait because they went to the wrong street. So Yezu Drive is about 3 blocks long apparently, while Yezu Lane there's only one house on that street. So I'm going to reach out to the city engineer, the DPW, the fire department, and see if, what remedy we can take to help that woman out. Just a little update on the lighting program. We have roughly 5,500 fixtures that have been retrofitted, so 90% of the project has been complete. Right now, the contractors are over in West Scranton. There have been several reports of street lights that have been retrofitted that have then gone out anywhere between 5 to 20 to half hour. And I've gotten several complaints about that. The answer that I got from the administration is that once a control system is in place, which will be relatively soon, the lighting fixtures will end up reporting themselves. So it's still to be determined exactly who will be receiving these reporting updates, but they are working on these issues, they're working through them, so that will be taken care of. One of the items that I received, one of the requests was Mary Street and Lily Lane. There's a street light that keeps going out in the middle of the night up there between 2 and 15 minutes. The last issue that I have tonight is about the museum downstairs. And I'm not sure that many people know that there is a museum in the basement of City Hall. But it's run by the Sons of the Union's Veterans of the Civil War. It's a fraternal organization dedicated to preserving the history and the legacy of heroes who fought and worked to save the Union. It was organized in 1881, it was chartered by Congress in 1954, and they're the legal successor to the Grand Army of the Republic. So these gentlemen put a museum down in the basement of City Hall, and anybody who has not seen it needs to go and see it. There's a ton of history down there, it's really well run. And there's one problem. I've been contacted by this organization. Their lease is about to be up. They had a 10-year lease that was signed back in 2007. And it's going to be up in November. They've tried repeatedly to get in touch with the mayor. Apparently, there's some talk that the mayor wants to kick them out of the basement, the museum, throw the museum out of City Hall, and put in some kind of storage. So I'm not exactly sure what that's all about. But I would like Mrs. Reed to set up a meeting immediately with the mayor to find out what his plans are for the basement of City Hall. And secondly, and I'm going to advocate to him, should we meet, that the museum should stay in the basement of City Hall. And I just want to, for a minute, I was sent a letter by this group detailing some of the things that they do. Our museum and library houses many artifacts, letters, various correspondence, and over 1,000 books, with the main theme being clear ties to local Civil War veterans. We recently became part of the Lackawanna County Library System and the Lackawanna County Historical Society, with links to our library from theirs for the purposes of Civil War research, providing the opportunity for local schools and universities to use our materials for research. Admission is free for anyone who would like to visit to see our large assortment of artifacts, weaponry, among a ton of other things, and access our extensive records for research purposes. The organization exists to keep green the memory of the Civil War soldiers and to assist like-minded organizations in this endeavor. Their mission is accomplished through service to Lackawanna County and surrounding communities by providing a facility for research, education, and by being accessible to schools, universities, and other fraternal organizations. I won't go through the rest of the letter, but during their nearly 10 years at City Hall, they've contributed to the community in a number of different ways. So they would like us to put on our agenda an ordinance that would authorize them for another 10-year term, and I would definitely be in favor of that. But again, I would like to set up a meeting with Mayor Courtright immediately to find out what his plans are and why this has lagged and dragged on the way it has. And that's all I have for this week. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gohan. In regards to the street signs, last year Scranton was awarded a grant from the Pennsylvania Liquor Control Board. There's money that comes into the city based on some fines that are generated against bars for underage drinking or loud music or whatever. Last year we were able to take that money at council's discretion, and we bought stop signs with that money. So I'm thinking in terms of, on a smaller scale, I know there wouldn't be enough money there to do all the street signs in the city, but this liquor control board money as it comes into us, I think that this year, I think we probably can target street signs for that and get an idea on the cost of the program. I know Scranton is a big city. Every corner has signs on it, so we'd have to see what can be done immediately. But that liquor control board money comes in very quickly, and last year, like I said, we were able to do stop signs with it, so hopefully we can do something for street signs with that money. This evening we heard a lot of criticism about the city and how bad it's doing, and it's never been worse. But I attended a meeting today that had a totally different perspective of that. The University of Scranton has a series called the State of Scranton, and today the discussion was led by Senator John Blake. Senator Blake talked about many projects that are ongoing in the city. One of them we heard about tonight, the development on Main Avenue in West Scranton. That represents a huge investment in the city of Scranton. In the paper yesterday, the announcement that there's going to be over $80 million spent on building new hospital facilities in the city. We talked about today developments along Cedar Avenue, developments at the Steamtown Mall. I understand there's frustration amongst people in the city. I understand that. We hear it every Thursday. Could Scranton do a better job on services? Probably. It's a big city with a lot of people. But the constant negative shooting of Scranton down does no good for anybody. The five of us are paid here to sit and listen to it, which we do. But I think the critics should get out and go talk to some of these investors that are coming to our area. Talk to some of the financial people that are coming wanting to do business with us. You cannot underestimate an $80 million project in a city. If Scranton was so terrible as we hear every Thursday, no one would be investing that money in the city. I think sometimes we need to hear a little more of the positive. I think sometimes Scrantonians are very hard on themselves. I think it goes back to our history. We've always kind of been a little bit down on ourselves, but I really believe that we have to shed a light on some of the positive things that are going on here and not ignore the negatives and not ignore the problems, but work together and enjoy some of our successes at least. Last Friday, I attended a meeting of a presentation of the opening of the first properties being advertised at the Land Bank. Throughout the city, the county has put up for sale signs on land bank properties. Last evening, the commissioners had a session for all municipalities, 40 municipalities within the county, to go and exchange ideas about the land bank, about recycling, about construction. We are trying to be a more regional area. From speaking to the commissioners, the land bank already has interest, I believe, in 26 properties. So the land bank is going to be a successful program getting properties back onto the tax rolls. We also, in the paper this week, Senator Blake was able to start working on an anti-blight legislation in Harrisburg. This is another tool that we need to help control as Mr. Gaughan mentioned this evening, there's properties in the city that are blight issues that affect the whole neighborhood. One house on a block can ruin the whole neighborhood, and the more that we can do, the better we can avoid blight in the area. In regards to, a few weeks ago I was at the Greenwich neighborhood meeting and speaking with Mr. Young there. I told Mr. Young that I would get in contact with Assistant City Solicitor Mr. Price, Joe Price. I did get in touch with Mr. Price. They're trying to get the situation under control. We understand how bad the problem is. We'd like to get the repairs done as quickly as possible. Right now, today I spoke to Larry West from Senator Blake's office. Senator Blake is working with the Department of DEP, and there is a concern that once Scranton does any repairs to that hole, that we put ourselves in jeopardy of becoming responsible for the whole $13 million project. That is a real concern, and is something that has to be addressed before we can do this repair. Everyone wants to do the repair, but we can't run the risk of exposing Scranton to a $13 million debt. In regards to the issue that Mr. Gaughan just mentioned about the Civil War Museum, I have been working on this also. I have contacted the mayor about this issue. The mayor has assured me that the Civil War Museum will not just be tossed out on its ear. I have contacted the Historical Society. They're aware of the situation. They want to find a place if the museum has to move from City Hall. They also want to find a place for him, for a right place to go. The situation with the city is right now we have to store documents. Documents are stored over in the firehouse or all over the place. A few years ago, we had a water leak that ruined some documents. So there is a need for space within City Hall. But speaking to the mayor has been in contact with the city solicitor, and as of right now, there is no plans to expel the museum from City Hall. I agree with Mr. Gaughan that it's a valuable service to the city, but there is some need for storage space within the city, and we do want to bring this to an agreeable condition. My last comments are on the problems that we're encountering with the discount of the garbage fee. It was City Council's intention that anyone that paid a garbage fee would receive a discount if they paid it before May 1st. Actually, before this evening, we were kicking around some ideas on why there's this problem. Part of the things that came to my attention today, because I only have a single-family home, is if you have 2 units in your that you're paying on, the face of the bill is actually $600. It's not $300 per unit. Your bill is $600. I understand that that's why there may be some confusion in the treasurer's office that they can't offer a discount on half the bill. So we are in contact with the city solicitor, and we are in contact with Treasurer Beck to try to get this resolved. Because I do agree that if you pay one bill and you're going to keep your apartment vacant, or it may be vacant at this time, I don't believe that you should be penalized for not paying on the property. That's your option. So we are working to get that an understanding between council's intentions, which was to have a discount, and the way that it's being handled in the treasurer's office, and hopefully we'll get that resolution. And agreeing with Mr. Gaughan, if people were charged an error, we will try to get them their refund back. That's all I have.
Can I just add one thing on top of what you said? With the museum, in talking to the gentlemen that run the thing, if the mayor wants to do something different with it, that's fine, but don't dodge the group for months. That's what drives me crazy, and that's why I want to set a meeting up so that we can hammer down exactly, if it's storage, okay. But the group, their lease is up, so let them know what you're going to do. And again, they were concerned, and that's why they contacted me, because they couldn't get an answer from anybody in City Hall. They called the mayor's office repeatedly, and he never returned their call. So that's the concern. And second thing is, I misspoke before about the street light. It's actually on Mary Lane and Lilac Lane up on East Mountain. Thank you.
5B, for introduction, an ordinance authorizing the mayor and other appropriate city officials to disperse $89,000 from the account into which repayment of urban development action grants are deposited to be used for the purchase of paving materials for the City of Scranton's paving program.
At this time, I'll entertain a motion that item 5B be introduced into its proper committee.
So moved.
Second.
On the question? All those in favor of introduction signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it, so moved.
5C, for introduction, a resolution authorizing the mayor and other appropriate city officials to execute and enter into a contract with Urban Electrical Contractors Incorporated to perform maintenance of streetlights for a 12-month period from May 1, 2017 through April 30, 2018.
At this time, I'll entertain a motion that item 5C be introduced into its proper committee.
So moved.
Second.
On the question?
Yes, on the question. I did talk with the business administrator today about this because we do have the LED lighting project going on. So of course, the obvious question would be, why would you need a maintenance contractor? Few things. First of all, the price for all this, it goes by, it's an hourly rate. So man hours is $62 an hour if they get called out. A truck would be $15 an hour. If it's an emergency service, other than any time that's delineated in the contract, it'd be $93 an hour for an emergency outside of the time specified, and again, $15 for the truck. Now, the business administrator told me that the scope of responsibilities will be extremely limited because we have these LED lights that eventually are going to be self-reporting. And the retrofitted lights that we currently have are under warranty, so any deficiencies are going to be taken care of by Commonwealth Energy, which is the company. There may be other work that has to be done by this maintenance company, but it will be very limited. Thank you.
And just to add on that, I would like to see how the hourly rate compares to last year's. Again, if it is a higher rate, I guess I could understand that if the LED technology is more expensive to work on. But you know, as Mr. Gahn mentioned, the obvious question is, if we're putting in lights that are supposed to last decades, there shouldn't be a lot of work on this contract. And I definitely would like to monitor it through the course of the year. There should be a significant savings over the previous lighting contract, and this has been one of my pet peeves through my years on council, that whoever gets this contract, and it's not a knock on this contractor, but whoever gets the streetlight repair contract does not do a good job. We've had contractor after contractor win this bid, and each one of them has done an awful job at responding to residents to get streetlights repaired. When a light goes out, it should be repaired in a timely manner. Residents shouldn't be having to call council members after waiting months. So I'm hopeful that with the combination with the LEDs, the warranty, and this, we should have a very bright city for the next number of years, but it's something we'll certainly be watching closely.
All those in favor of introduction signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it, so moved.
5D, for introduction, a resolution accepting the recommendation of the Historical Architecture Review Board and approving the certificate of appropriateness for Mark J. Sobek Roof Consulting Incorporated, 15 South Franklin Street, Suite 210, Wilkes-Barre, PA, for exterior masonry cleaning and restoration and the painting of exterior wood and metal architectural elements at the Diocese of Scranton St. Peter's Cathedral, Rectory, and Chancery at 315 Wyoming Avenue, Scranton, PA 18503.
At this time, I'll entertain a motion item 5D be introduced into its proper committee.
So moved.
Second.
On the question? All those in favor of introduction signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it, so moved.
Sixth order, 6A, reading by title, file of the council number 96, 2017, an ordinance amending file of the council number 65, 2016, an ordinance entitled General City Operating Budget 2017 by transferring $296,895 from account number as noted non-departmental expenditures contingency to account number as noted Department of Public Works, Bureau of Highways, Rental Vehicles and Equipment to provide sufficient funding for the rental vehicles and equipment account through the 2017 budget period.
You've heard reading by title of item 6A. What is your pleasure?
I move that item 6A pass reading by title.
Second.
On the question? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it, so moved.
6B, reading by title, file of the council number 97, 2017, an ordinance closing and vacating a portion of an unnamed alleyway between South Main Avenue and Halsey Court in the 1200 block of South Main Avenue.
You've heard reading by title of item 6B. What is your pleasure?
I move that item 6B pass reading by title.
Second.
On the question? As Councilman Rogan mentioned, we were approached by some of the neighbors with some concerns about this project. I'm glad that they stepped up and brought these to our attention. We had a great response from the project people that came to our meeting this evening and presented what they had available, and we will be providing that to the concerned neighbors. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it, so moved.
6C, reading by title, file of the council number 98, 2017, an ordinance amending file of the council number 63, 2016, an ordinance as amended entitled amending file of the council number 155, 1999, an ordinance entitled providing for the licensing and regulating of contractors doing business in the city of Scranton, including requirements for the granting of permits and fees for same, providing penalties and rights of appeal by adding and deleting definitions, updating the department name and director's title, updating application forms, the requirements for contractors' license fees, issuance of permits, conformance to code, revocation, suspension, denial, prohibited acts, stop work, certificate of occupancy, and temporary certificate of occupancy, permit fees, inspections, fines for violations, and appeals procedure, and deletion of sections 17 and 22 in their entirety by adding under section 1 definitions and interpretations the definition for specialty contractor's license, adding the letter L under number 3 in section 2 contractor's license, adding specialty contractor, under section 3 application for license, adding M requirements for a specialty contractor, and under section 6 license fees, adding the fees for masonry contractor license, residential contractor license, and specialty contractor license.
You've heard reading by title of item 6C. What is your pleasure?
I move that item 6C pass reading by title.
Second.
On the question? This evening, Director Hinton attended our caucus, provided answers to questions that council had, and I do thank him for doing that. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it, so moved.
Seventh order, 7A, for consideration by the Committee on Rules for Adoption, Resolution Number 142, 2017, naming the recently installed Rockwell Avenue Bridge in the North Scranton section of the city in honor of General Theodore J. Wint.
As chairperson for the Committee on Rules, I recommend final passage of item 7A.
Second.
On the question? Roll call, please.
Mr. Perry?
Yes.
Mr. Rogan?
Yes.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Gahn?
Yes.
Mr. Wexler?
Yes, I hereby declare item 7A legally and lawfully adopted.
7B, for consideration by the Committee on Public Works for Adoption, Resolution Number 143, 2017, authorizing the mayor and other appropriate city officials to execute and enter into a contract with Maine Pool and Chemical Company Incorporated for seasonal chemicals for swimming pools, excluding Naog Pool, for the calendar year 2017.
What is the recommendation of the chairperson for the Committee on Public Works?
As chairperson for the Committee on Public Works, I recommend final passage of item 7B.
Second.
On the question? Roll call, please.
Mr. Perry?
Yes.
Mr. Rogan?
Yes.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Gahn?
Yes.
Mr. Wexler?
Yes, I hereby declare item 7B legally and lawfully adopted.
7C, for consideration by the Committee on Public Works for Adoption, Resolution Number 144, 2017, authorizing the mayor and other appropriate city officials to execute and enter into a grant agreement with the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection Flood Protection Grant Program to accept grant funds in the amount of up to $30,600 for rehabilitation assistance for damage from rainfall to Lindy Creek in 2016.
What is the recommendation of the chairperson for the Committee on Public Works?
As chairperson for the Committee on Public Works, I recommend final passage of item 7C.
Second.
On the question?
Yes, on the question. I believe it was asked last week where exactly this was, and I spoke to Mr. Poshis today, our city engineer. The repair is going to be to the distilling basin, along Frink Street, just west of South Kaiser Avenue. The repair is going to consist of placing large riprap in the washed out area and removing the gravel bank downstream. And this is going to be at no cost to the city.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Perry?
Yes.
Mr. Rogan?
Yes.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Gahn?
Yes.
Mr. Wexler?
Yes, I hereby declare item 7D legally and lawfully adopted. If there's no further... Did I skip one?
There was 7C, Councilman Wexler.
It's my birthday, I want to get to the party. 7C, I hereby declare 7C legally and lawfully adopted.
7D for consideration by the Committee on Public Works for Adoption Resolution Number 145, 2017, authorizing the mayor and other appropriate city officials to execute and enter into a cooperation agreement between the United States of America and the city of Scranton for rehabilitation of non-federal flood control work in Scranton, Pennsylvania on Lindy Creek.
What is the recommendation of the chairperson for the Committee on Public Works?
As chairperson for the Committee on Public Works, I recommend final passage of item 7D.
Second.
On the question? Roll call, please.
Mr. Perry?
Yes.
Mr. Rogan?
Yes.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Gahn?
Yes.
Mr. Wexler?
Yes, I hereby declare item 7D legally and lawfully adopted. If there's no further business, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn for real this time.
Motion to adjourn.
This meeting is adjourned.